Yeah, I'm Jake Rockwell, team leader of the Rockwell Group, and an avid investor in multifamily residential properties. I do have some Airbnbs, but this has been a game changer over the last 13 years when I started with nothing and built up quite a portfolio of real estate very quick just by growing, right? And yes, we've sold a lot of houses through the real estate team, but I will say that the biggest source of my portfolio and wealth building was through the real estate ownership. And there's a lot of opportunity there if people are willing to do it. And more, there's so many people that don't realize that they have this ability. They just don't understand it. And so we can obviously, I have no problem, the more of our team members learn it, the more they can speak on it. Again, not from a CPA standpoint, but just sharing what I've done and what I know has been possible for me. And so I'm going to talk today about an existing property you have, a low interest rate, and how changing that or refinancing that to pull equity out of it, even though you'd be going to a 6% rate or something like that, which a lot of people don't want to increase their rate, increase their payment and all that. They want to hold on to that rate, right? But I want to show the numbers behind it and how you can greatly improve yourself even going to a 6% rate. So first thing that I want to do is the idea behind it is your refinance and doing a cash out refi, correct? To use to purchase another piece of property. Okay, correct. And would the next piece of property be another rental property?
Possibly, lightly, yeah.
Yeah, which will give you the most benefit. And even if it's a partial rental property, like it's another multifamily and you're living in one or whatever, but
can I be renting it out for a family member if I handle a home with a cottage?
Yep. So anything that's a rental can be used for investment purposes and take advantage of some of the benefits of a rental. So did you ever do a cost segregation on the property that you have now? Okay. So so cost segregation is basically a study. All residential properties are depreciated over 27 years. Maybe 27 and a half years, 27 years, right? Commercial properties like this are 39 years. And it just basically like if you have a $500,000 property, it's going to equally depreciate over the next 27 years. However, a cost segregation will say, hey, we're going to break out all the components of the property, all the windows, the doors, the HVAC system, all the systems of the property, because some of those items can actually be depreciated sooner than 27 years. So what that study does is it separates it all and says, okay, hey, actually all of these things could be depreciated in the first year, 5 year, 15 year. And with the accelerated depreciation bonus that our federal tax law provides, you can appreciate a pretty considerable amount. A rough idea generally is about 35% of the value of the property the first year. So for example, I just bought a 7-unit property last week and it was a $900,000 property. Exclude the land out of it. Let's just say the land was worth $200,000. It's underneath it. So the building is worth $700,000. When they get down doing the cost segregation study, which is a $3,000 or $4,000 expense for a cost seg study, and I can recreate it the right person, that $700,000 building, most likely the amount of depreciation that I'll get on that building will be $200,000 to $250,000. So you write down $250,000 in depreciation for the first year.
So once you do the cost segregation, then that determines the percentage of value.
No, they'll tell you
what the amount is.
The amount that you can depreciate. And all depreciation is negative income on paper. So if you made $250,000 this year and you depreciated $250,000, you're now not paying any tax on the $250,000. If you didn't make $250,000, well then you can use it for the next year. Anything you don't use this year, you use next year and the following year and so forth. I think up to 5 years. So it's a way to fight your current tax bill. And that's just one. And so if it was, but let's talk in your situation. If you decided to cost seg your property right now, let's just deal with that one first. What's it worth?
It's currently worth $550.
So 550. What's the land worth, you think? 100 on today? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, 150
all right.
acres.
So that means the building's worth 400K. Okay.
Yeah.
So this, and especially when that eventually becomes fully rented, 400,000. Let's just use an estimate of 35% in depreciation, which is
So how did you get that minus the land?
minus the land equals 400,000 in building times 0.35 is a conservative number of depreciation has 140,000 in depreciation. If you had to pay taxes on
140,000 again, real quick.
35%.
35%.
And that's just a rough idea. The cost segregation study, they will tell you what it comes out to based on the components.
Ish. Got it.
So what's the taxes on 140,000 in your tax bracket?
My tax bracket is going to be 30%.
So let's just say it's 25%. I like this to conservative. 140,000 times 25%. That's 35,000 in tax, right? And that's real dollars out of your pocket, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's 35,000 that you now get to keep in your pocket. And if you're going to give it to the IRS, you might as well give it to another property. Mm-hmm. So 35,000, that's number one. That's just on your property that you own now. Mm-hmm. You could do that still for this year if you want.
Okay. And so you have to pay the 3,000 to 4,000 for the
only part that I wonder on that is because you're living in part of it. You know, that you are paying yourself rent. Is it in a separate company, me?
It is, investments.
So Simona, the person, could be paying rent on it and potentially a cost seg or a CPA question. So you might be able to do that this year and fight 140,000 of your income. If you made 140,000 this year, you're not going to pay. You shouldn't have to pay any taxes.
Okay.
You could do that this year. What that does, though, just so you know, all that does is it's depreciating at 140,000. So it was 550. The new basis is now 410,000. Meaning, if you were to sell it for 550, you're still going to pay taxes on that difference now, even though you bought it for 550, because you depreciated it down to 400, 410. You're going to pay, if you sold it for 550, you are going to pay taxes on that 140 that you just depreciated.
Okay.
So it's more of a kick the can down the way. If you don't ever sell, then it doesn't ever matter.
Which is not your plan at this point. It's just
and there's a lot of reasons why. Because over time, that 550 is going to be 650. That 650 is going to be 750, 850. It's going to appreciate on a conservative level, maybe 5%. Every time it appreciates, you're gaining equity, which then means you can borrow again against it and use those funds as income-free money to go reinvest in something else. So depreciation on your existing property does that. But let's say how much do you owe on the property?
$315.
So you owe $315. So your total equity $550 minus $315. You have $235,000 in equity. So we're gonna go benefit number 2, $35K equity. Right? So, if being that you are living in it, you can still do what kind of loan on it with the minimum down? If you with the minimum LTV.
HELOC. Wait, is that what you're saying?
No, I wouldn't do a HELOC.
No.
I would look at refinance and doing a catch-out refinance.
Okay.
I mean, you could look at both ways to see what a HELOC. Problem with the HELOC is it's shorter term and it's normally around 10%.
Yeah.
So 235 equity. And so if we kept like an 80% loan to value, if you were to do a cash out refi, sure. Okay, let's just see what that looks like. So it's worth 550 times 80% is 440. Okay. So now you can get a loan. You owe how much? 315?
Mm-hmm.
So now it's your new loan is 440. And that's going to be, let's just say it's at 6%. What's your current loan right now on
3.37.
And what's your payment? Without interest, what is yours?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, without taxes.
15 something.
79? Let's just say 79. Okay. So your current payment is 17 on. If you get a new loan for 440, how much equity cash out can you do? If the new loan's 440, that's an 80% LTV, 80% of the 550. What is the equity that you get to pull out? It's the 440 minus what you owe now.
Okay, so it's catch up with you here. So 440 minus what I owe now,
which is grid 15. So how much cash can you pull out? 125. You have a little bit of closing costs, so maybe call it 110. That way you don't come out of pocket with closing costs. Make sense? So now you got 110K to work with. But let's look at what your payment's going to be on this new loan. And so new loan versus the 17. So 440 is the loan at 6%. If you can get 6%, I mean, give or take. The new payment on a 440 loan is $26.38. Okay? And the difference is $26.38 minus $26.38 minus $1,700 is $938 a month. Okay? All right. Now, I'm not even going to look at the first appreciation on the existing house because that should have been done when you bought it or whatever. So that's a benefit, though.
That's something I should just do.
That's a huge benefit if you do that. I'm going to show you the depreciation on the property that you're going to purchase. So right now we're upside down 938 from where you are, but you got 110 in your account, in your bank. Okay. So now let's look at what happens when you take 110,000. What can you purchase? How much land? How much property can you buy with 110 grand? 25% down.
If I take the whole 110 and put her into
25% down. At least the number.
so times 3 was
Yeah, 440 it works. 440
okay.
times 4. You gotta buy it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So now you have another property at 440, right? Okay. If it appreciates at 5%, and so under the free, I'm going to go 1 appreciation. How much will it appreciate every year at 5%? 22,000, and it'll go higher than that every year, right? So 22K. Okay.
Is the first year?
Yeah, it'll go up and down because if it appreciates 22,000, then the next year it's going to appreciate a little more, right? So appreciation, obviously that's not money in the bank, but it's in the money of the future bank. So like if this goes up enough, can you refinance it again in 3 or 4 or 5 years? To do the same thing, wash, rinse, repeat. Okay, so that's the first benefit. The second benefit is I want you to write cash flow. Because the cash flow on this new $440,000 property, if you put 110 down, generally you're going to make 5 to 10% on your money after mortgage and everything. 5 to 10% return. 5% is pretty low. I don't normally want to only make 5, but even if it is, let's just be conservative. 110,000, and this is after expenses.
After I was going to say that.
And mortgage.
Okay.
Cash on cash return.
Okay.
Okay, and that's very doable. 5% is extremely doable. I would be pushing for 6 to 8%. But let's just say 6%. Okay, so I would take 110,000 times 0.06 is 6,600 a year, and we're at 6,600 a year, and then I'm gonna divide that by 12. That's 550 a month of cash flow that you're gonna get. Okay.
Okay, and that's up to 6%. Okay.
Okay. And then he does it. I didn't even do it at this. That's your other property at 6%. We didn't even put the loan amount on here. It doesn't really matter at that point because this cash flow is after the mortgage. I just know that 5 to 10%, you want to buy a property that you're going to get 5 to 10% cash on cash return, meaning I put 110,000 in, I'll have 5 to 10% out after expenses, property management, everything, and the mortgage. So it's cash on cash return. That's real money in their pocket every month. It's going to go against this 938. So now if we minus the 938 from there, is what? 938 minus 550 is now you're upside down $388. Okay? Again, appreciation is 22,000. That's not cash in the pocket, but it's cash in the bank, right? Potential cash in the bank. Now, let's write down debt reduction. So we're at 388 over a year's 4,600, but we're appreciating 22,000. Yeah, but the appreciate is 22, but I'm looking at hard money out of pocket as well, because there is benefits of the appreciation, absolute benefit for true wealth building. And an example is I have quite a large portfolio, and I just look at what the appreciation was over the last year at 5%, it's at $150,000. And so what am I doing? I'm taking 3 properties, I'm refinancing, pulling $600,000 out, and my payment will be an extra $700 because of the re-amortization, and one of them will be a lower rate, one of them and 2 of them will be higher rates, 3.5%, 4% going with 6%. But that 600 gets killed with the benefits of that pride you buy. So now debt reduction. So I'm going to plug this loan in here with 25% down.
440 purchase.
Yep. And I'm going to say that let's just say it's 6.25% on a rental property. Okay. And I'm not putting in taxes and insurance because that's already factored in the cash flow. But that debt reduction, so it's a loan amount, but I'm not really looking at the loan amount. What I'm looking at is how much principal is going out of that when that payment's made by who? Who's making it? The
renters.
Yeah. So debt reduction is a real benefit, and so if the debt goes down by X amount, is that extra equity? Yes. That you can then borrow later? So let's look at this. I want to show you. So in the first year, so you got approximately 300 on average in principal part of it, 315, 320 times 12. I'm just doing the rough numbers. Let's just go 315 on average times 12. Debt reduction of $3,780 a year for the first year. And then obviously that will go down a little bit over the years. But then the final one, right now in depreciation. We're going to take this $440,000 property. Let's just say the land is worth $140, just for easy numbers. That means you have building of 3 half. And what did we figure? So 300,000 times what? 35%. And 35% will be your first year depreciation. That's 105,000 in depreciation. Equals how much in tax? What's your tax bracket? 25%. That's $26,000 in tax savings the first year. That is actually real money, right? Yeah. So that's actually real money. Let's just say that you wait 4 years, 5 years, I don't know, 5 years. And if you spread that depreciation over 5 years of monthly payments, just savings, if you divide that by 60, that's $437 a month. Are you following me? So
no, I didn't get that part.
So this is real savings. This is tax savings. But if you were to just kind of say, okay, I'm saving them all this year, but if I were to put it on a monthly basis for 5 years before I get to refinance it again, just to kind of figure out the month-to-month cash flow, it's $437 a month. So minus $437 a month. Now you were down to $380 after the cash flow, after the rental cash flow, and now if you just factor in this real cash, now you're up about $50 a month, just in cash flow, money out of pocket. But
plus you got your appreciation
and your
debt reduction.
So what's the total between the debt reduction and depreciation?
$25,000.
And those two things are your wealth builder. And so if that's $25,000 a year, how many years does it take to get that 110 again?
See, if it's $25,000,
if you're appreciating and reducing your debt, which is equity, well,
110 or
5, and what we do is we just did that over 5, right? So obviously you won't do an accelerated depreciation on this property again, but You do this whole thing again in 5 years. If again, this is the concept is fairly realistic. Is it possible that we don't get that appreciation 5% a year? It's possible to get 10% a year. It's possible to get 2%. So who knows? It could delay things. But is it worth not coming out of pocket to grow your wealth?
Yes.
And we went from 3% to 6%. And we didn't even, because this first one was the depreciation on your existing property, you just never did that before, but you could still do that, I think, if depending on if you're living in there or not. I don't know. You'd have to check with us. But it's the other portion where I'm taking the equity out of a 3% loan property and moving it to a 6% loan property, increasing my payment, and taking that money and going buying a rental property that will build wealth. It gives me appreciation, cash flow, debt reduction, and depreciation. The concern that most people will have is that I'm going to be having $1,000 more a month payment, but then when here, I'm going to get that $1,000 back from cash flow and depreciation. It's spread out over, you get it the first year, but it becomes justified over the course of 5 years. It's 437, and now you're ahead of the game. Because we took away the 550, you got 550 and 26 grand coming in.
So when you're doing this depreciation, are you doing it over 5 years, or you're doing it all that first year here? Let's kind of averaging it out in the math. Okay.
You'll get that benefit the first year.
Sure.
But you will get additional depreciation the second, third, fourth, fifth year also. You'll also get depreciation those years. You're not taking all your depreciation. You're only taking 105 of a 300.
To do this, am I going to use cost segregation?
Yep. That's going to be a cost seg. That will cost you $3,000. So you could probably, you would have to factor that into this too. But is it worth paying $3,000 or $3,500 to save 26?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, this is not something that I made up.
No, I've tested before, but I'm a person that needs to hear things repeatedly, and it helps you.
And it's easy. I mean, you have the right, but I mean, this is the way that otherwise to get that $110,000, you have to use income that you pay taxes on. But now you're just pulling it out of a property which has no taxes. It's similar to the people that do life insurance, because they that grows. When they borrow from it, it's not income. So the smart, wealthy people are borrowing from their assets.
If you have a home that you've got some equity in and you're not sure what to do with it, you should reach out, because our team can help you figure out what to do with that equity, and you could be building some long-term generational wealth that you could be passing down to your family.
Yep. Even if it's going from a 3% loan to a 6% loan, this is proving that you're in a better spot after you do that. And then there's even more advantages down the road if you keep holding that real estate, do a trust, all that. But that's all attorney CPA stuff. But reach out to us, and happy to help. But it's exciting stuff.